has brought back in the not so distant past to remind people of the good old days when GM was really number one and was really running the show as far as the automotive industry was concerned. In the mid-90s, while they brought back the Caprice Impala version with the big V8, it looked great, 17-inch ROH wheels, quite the looker, powerful car, but it was only in 2000 where GM officially brought back the nameplate, and it instantly became, well, the next cop car and the taxi par excellence. For 2006, GM has completely revised that Impala, and here it is. Now, the redesign of the car has actually smoothened up the lines. The car's a little bit rounder, maybe even more elegant, more pleasing to the eye, and especially when it comes to the rear end, where the taillights on this model is much nicer, more controlled as far as the look is concerned. Base price for the 2006 Impala starts at $24,685. What you'll get with that is a 4-speed automatic transmission mated to a 3.5-liter V6 engine that puts out 211 horsepower. My Tester right now is an LTZ model, which will give you the same 4-speed automatic transmission mated this time to a 242 horsepower 3.9-liter V6. Now, what I can say about the engine is actually two things with the powertrain, in fact. First of all, that 4-speed automatic transmission, although it works very well, very smoothly, is just missing that one crucial gear to really get the most out of that engine. Now, speaking about the 3.9, 242 horsepower and 242 pound-feet of torque is not that much for such a large displacement engine. Most manufacturers right now, with almost half a liter less of displacement, are putting out as much or more horsepower. Regardless, it's still a very tractable engine. It's got a lot of low-end grunt and does a really good job, and it even sounds very nice. Now, overall, I'm quite impressed with the drive of the car. It actually feels very planted. It's got firm grip on the tarmac. Steering is reasonably precise, and well, GM has yet to let me down really when it comes to braking. Firm pedal, good feel, very short stopping distances. Perhaps the turning radius itself is a little bit big, but this is still a big car, so all things considered, it's not that bad at all. The interior of the Impala, I have to say, I'm actually almost impressed. Everything's there, basically. GM really likes to put their trip computers and all of that available in the car. So you can just press along with the little buttons on the side of the gauges, and you'll see how long you've been traveling, how far you've traveled, your fuel consumption, your range. Speaking of fuel consumption, if there's one thing important to say about the Impala, or many of the GM vehicles, is that they're actually fuel economy champions for the size of their cars, and this one is no different. It's doing really well so far, but I haven't traveled that far yet. Now, materials used inside the car, they look good, but they remain maybe slightly subpar. But the finished product actually looks quite good. Now, if there's one thing I have to say, is that this is actually one of the first cars that I have with the XM radio. Now, coupled to a Bose audio system in this car, the sound is great and the music is amazing. I think I'm going to have to sign up. Moving along. Steering wheel is good grip. It's actually a little bit thinner than I'm used to, but I mean, this is basically a regular car, I have to say, so it's fine. And the buttons for the headlights, very straightforward, rotary knob. Same thing for the HVAC. You have individual controls for the passenger and driver's side heating. Everything is actually quite sleek looking and very functional. The seats are very comfortable. They're a little bit too soft maybe, but overall pretty good. Same thing for the back, very comfortable, a little bit soft also, but I don't think anybody's going to complain as far as that's concerned. Legroom is ample, both front and back. Headroom there's tons of it. The trunk is humongous, huge. You could fit maybe a dozen bodies in there if you had to. It's quite well finished. I'm impressed. I really like what I'm seeing from General Motors, especially in the case of the Impala. There's nothing wrong. It does everything quite well. I was actually a closet fan, if I might say, of the previous generation Impala, because when I first drove it in 2000, I actually enjoyed the feeling of the car. It was like a nice, big American car, but with some control, some composure. And, well, what GM did with the 2006 model is they actually increased that appeal of this car. It's still big, it's still American, but it actually feels, now I hesitate to use the term European, but it's almost that. I mean, it won't rival, say, a Maxima on the road or a Passat, for example, but still, For the price of this particular model, which is $30,985, I'm quite impressed with the drive. This is going to do quite well. I'm quite certain, especially south of the border in the US, where cars like this are very much appreciated as a second car, for example, after the big pickup. So the 2006 Chevrolet Impala, I really like it. GM products are generally somewhere around the average as far as reliability concerned, while maintenance costs are usually fairly low, especially if you know where to look for prices as far as parts are concerned, because GM replacement parts are typically quite expensive. But the life of this car should be fairly easy. And there's nothing really specifically special as far as technology is concerned, perhaps with the engine, but overall I think it's going to do quite well, and it should be a reliable product.